no doubt of that. Yeah, I think if we don't do it, somebody will come get us again, yeah. The difference with Pearl Harbor is we knew who the enemy was in Pearl Harbor. That launched us into a very difficult four-year war, but at least we knew who we were fighting. Here, we don't know what to do.
Now, we're hearing reports that there may be another building in New York which may be about to collapse, which explains some of the terrible difficulties the emergency services are having there right on the southern tip of Manhattan, right beside the World Trade Center. Tom, the World Trade Center is one of the obvious symbols, not just of America, but of world capitalism, or how the markets work in this country. The Pentagon is the clearest symbol of American power.
Yeah.
It's fairly obvious whoever did this was deliberately trying to humiliate as best they could the United States.
Well, absolutely. And also the World Trade Center, if you happen to have an airplane, is probably relatively easy to hit. But it is reminiscent of that awful day in '98 when two of our embassies were hit within 2 minutes. Clearly a coordinated attack, and it takes, this requires a lot more coordination, I would say. So it's really horrendous. Now the other building in Lower Manhattan, I think the World Trade Center, we know the two towers, but there are about 6 buildings that are all part of the World Trade Center. They're all pretty close or even connected. So I wouldn't be surprised if fire had spread from one to the other, and those are now going.
When we talk about the way in which Americans must be viewing these pictures tonight, how do you think they'll be feeling? I mean, have you been in contact with friends and relatives in the United States?
Well, yeah, I have 2 kids in America, and my wife and I had a pretty frantic time finding them and making sure they were okay, which they were, thank God. I've had people pouring into my office here in London all day, Americans saying, just get me in touch, just let me get home to my family. I can't get in touch with America either, you know, but that's what they want.
Tom, there we must leave it. Thank you.
Now we're going to go straight over to New York, to Manhattan, to talk to John Berman, a reporter for ABC. John, what can you tell us about these reports that there are dangers of another building collapsing?
There are dangers of another building collapsing right there on the street near where the Twin Towers have already collapsed. Those people who have been down there say the smoke is still piling into the sky. There's about a foot of debris on the ground. The situation is still very tenuous. We're told that officials have been told to back off from the area completely because they are very worried that another building is very close to coming down.
So what can they do in terms of the emergency operation for the World Trade Center Twin Towers?
Well, unfortunately, they can't do much right now. They're very concerned about the remaining structure in those 2 buildings, if they are safe. They're concerned about the buildings nearby, and they're concerned about the air. It's not just smoke that's in the air right now. It's floating debris. It's particles. The cars and ambulances that are racing from there are covered in soot. The people who come out of there, the firemen, are covered in soot. I've seen them head into showers, into makeshift showers with fire hoses to clean off. It is a bad scene down there right now, and it might be some time before any real search and rescue operation does begin.
Tell us just how it's been for you and your team actually trying to report this in Manhattan.
It's been a crazy day. What happened was we get to work just as the first plane ran into one of the Twin Towers, and a lot of people from ABC and other news organizations raced downtown immediately. By the time they got here, the second building had already been hit, and that's when the buildings fell down. It was a staggering sight. It was as if the whole lower part of the city let go with a collective scream, and there was a rumble that you could feel not just in your ears but in your entire body. It was really stunning. And since the buildings went down, it's just been amazing to see how many officials, firefighters are trying to help out, trying to get as close as they can. There have been people evacuated from the scene. People who are as high up as 88 stories in the building were evacuated and have survived. So there are some good stories, but there's a fear of many people being killed.
Because of course these buildings were never designed to be evacuated at high speed. What can be done now for the people who are believed still to be inside there?
Well, unfortunately, Americans have had some experience with evacuating or trying to get people out of buildings that have been demolished. Oklahoma City, of course, the federal building there was exploded, and people were pulled out of that for hours and hours, and in some cases days afterwards alive. These buildings behind me have just been demolished.